Let me tell you a story from the heart of a sunburnt land where drums spoke louder than words and whispers could shape destinies. In the village of Alakoro, surrounded by dusty footpaths and wide baobab trees, lived a woman named Nia. Nia was not born into wealth, nor did she inherit greatness. But she was a woman with fire in her bones and love stitched deep into her hands. She had a laugh that healed eyes that understood pain, and a strength that came not from muscle but from struggle. People said she could turn cassava into gold and turn sorrow into songs. Every morning, she rose with the sun and went to bed only when the moon was high, her back bent from work. But her heart still open by her side was her daughter, Lamy. Lamy was the kind of child who could make flowers bloom just by touching them. She had her mother's smile and something else too, a glimmer of the skies in her soul. She was 6 years old, but spoke like she had lived twice that many. Her questions were endless. Why do birds fly? Why do men cry in secret? Why do people become angry when you shine too brightly? Nia would laugh softly and answer every question with a tale. For in Alakoro, stories were currency, and Nia was rich in them. But as Nia's name spread through the village, as she became known for her palm oil business, her baskets that sold like fire, her leadership in the women's circle, someone else in her own home began to wither. Her husband, Dogo now. Dogo was once a man with promise. In his youth, he danced the fastest at festivals, wooed the girls with his charm, and held dreams of becoming a merchant. But dreams, if not nurtured, rot. And Dogo's dreams had long turned sour, while Nia toiled and sold. Dogo sat under the shade of the village tree, chewing bitter cola and drowning in jealousy. He had no work, no trade, and slowly, he had lost his place in his own home. It wasn't that Nia pushed him aside. No, she begged him to rise with her. She gave him chances. She handed him money to start a poultry business. He drank it. She helped him get a driving job. He quit before the first paycheck. She pleaded, argued, cried. But a man who refuses to carry his own name will always spit on those who try to help him. The village began to notice. That woman is the one carrying that house, they whispered. That Dogo, he's just a shadow. And Dogo heard the whispers. They crawled into his ears and made nests in his pride. His resentment grew like a boil, silent, poisonous, and waiting to burst at night, he would curse under his breath. So, I'm nothing now. Just because she makes a little money. Because she has the women singing her name. Nia tried to keep peace. She told Lamy bedtime stories louder than the sound of her father's insults. She sang as she cooked, hoping to drown out the bitterness soaking into their walls. But children feel what words cannot say, and Lamy began to retreat. She drew pictures of broken houses. She no longer played by the stream. Her laughter became rare, a bird caged in fear. Then came the festival of harvest. The entire village was gathered in the square. Drums beat, elders spoke, and gifts were shared. And when the Women's Council announced their new leader, the name they called out was Nia's. The crowd roared. Dogo, watching from the back, smiled tightly. But inside, something snapped. That night, he didn't come home. Nia waited. The food went cold. Lamy slept curled in her lap. By morning, he returned. Drunk, eyes bloodshot, voice like gravel. You think you're better than me, he hissed. Let's see how strong you are when everything you love is taken. She didn't understand at first. She thought it was just his bitterness talking. But the next morning, before the sun rose, when Nia reached for Lamy's mat, she found only an empty cloth. Her daughter gone. She screamed. She searched the compound, the neighbors, the footpaths, the stream, the market. Nothing. No child, no trace. Just silence. When the truth became clear, her screams turned into sobs that echoed across the hills. Dogo had vanished with Lami. No one had seen them leave. No one had stopped them. He had taken their daughter, his own daughter, and disappeared like smoke. The village was divided. Some said, "Why didn't she keep her husband happy?" Others said, "That man is evil, a curse on his name." But words could not comfort. Naya, she wandered from village to village. She went to shrines, prophets, herbalists. She offered her earnings, her jewelry, her soul, anything just to know where her daughter was. But Lami was gone. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months, and far away, in a dusty corner of a city called Damari, a little girl sat by the roadside, holding an empty tin can. "Alms, please. Alms for food." Her dress was torn, her feet blistered. Her voice was barely louder than the wind. This was Lami. Beside her, watching from a corner, was Dogo, dressed in rags, his beard overgrown, his eyes hollow. He had brought her here not out of love, but out of cruelty. He taught her how to beg. He made her sit under the sun all day, and at night he would collect the coins and buy drink. If she didn't make enough, he would yell. Would say, "Cry louder tomorrow." The more tears, the more coins. Lami, once full of stars and questions, now stared at the ground most days. She barely spoke. She held a broken doll she had found in the trash. She named it Mama. In her dreams, her mother called her name. In the heat of the street, the dream was the only thing keeping her alive. And back in Alikoro, Nia still searched. Every day, she lit a candle. Every week, she traveled to another market, another bus station, another town. She asked strangers. Showed a worn-out picture. "Have you seen my daughter? Please. Her name is Lami. She's 6 years old, eyes like the moon." People shook their heads. Some gave her pity. Most gave her silence. But Naya did not stop. A mother's heart, once broken, can still beat, only now. It beats with the strength of two. One day, on the dusty roads of Damari, as Lami sat with her tin can, something strange happened. A woman selling roasted plantains noticed her. Woman had seen many beggars before, but something about this child pulled at her spirit. The way she sat, the sadness in her eyes, the way she hugged that broken doll. The woman knelt and gave her a piece of plantain. "What's your name?" she asked. Lami hesitated. Dogo had warned her never to speak too much. But something in this woman's voice was warm, like her mother's. She whispered Lami. The woman's eyes widened. That name, that voice. But before she could ask more, Dogo appeared like smoke and grabbed the girl. "Don't talk to her." He barked. He dragged Lami away, disappearing into the maze of alleyways. But the woman did not forget, and that moment, that single act of kindness would change everything. Damari was a city of many shadows. It had glass buildings and glittering lights, yes. But for every shining billboard, there was an alley drowned in smoke. For every car with tinted windows, there was a street child chasing coins under the sun. And in one of those streets, between the marketplace and the motor garage, a child named Lami lived in the cracks. She was only 6. But her eyes had seen more than most men in their 60s. Her days started before sunrise. Her father, if one could still call him that, would wake her with a slap or a kick. Go earn. If you bring less than yesterday, you won't eat." She would take her tin can and sit in the corner by the banana seller's stall. Her hair was matted, her stomach swollen with hunger. She would mumble the same words over and over. "Alms. Please, I haven't eaten today." People passed, some gave, most didn't. And all the while, Dogo watched from a distance, pretending not to know her. pretending to be just another idle man leaning on a wall. Every evening, he would meet her in the alley and count her coins. "Is this all?" he would growl. "Useless child. Do you think I feed you for nothing?" And Lami would lower her head, whisper, "Sorry," and curl into herself like a leaf folding in fear. But her soul was not completely crushed. Not yet. Every day she clutched that broken doll. Every night she whispered to it, "Mama, I miss you. I hope you're not crying too much. I will find you, I promise." And far away in Alikoro, her mother was indeed crying. Nia had become a shadow of herself. She no longer laughed, no longer attended the women's council meetings. Her hair, once braided with care, now hung loose and wild. Her hands, once crafting beautiful baskets, now clutched prayer beads as she walked from town to town. "I will find her," she said to anyone who asked, "even if it takes my whole life." Some told her to stop. Some said the girl was probably dead. Others said Dogo had sold her to traffickers. But Naya refused to believe it. A mother always knows. She went from market to market, village to village, with the same question: "Have you seen a girl named Lami, 6 years old? Eyes like the moon. She carries a broken doll." And one day, just when her hope had started to flicker, she arrived in Dama. It had been 7 months since Lami disappeared. Naya was tired, her feet swollen, her lips cracked. But she made her way to the market, clutching the faded photo. And as she walked between stalls of onions and smoked fish, a woman selling roasted plantains suddenly gasped, You're looking for a girl named Lami?" Nia froze. Her heartbeat skipped. "Yes, please, you've seen her." The woman's voice trembled. "She was here a few days ago. A small girl, very thin. She was begging. She said her name was Lami. She had a broken doll. And a man dragged her away." Nia's knees buckled. She grabbed the woman's arm. "Where? Which way did they go?" The woman pointed toward the alleys. "I don't know where they stay. I see her sometimes near the banana stalls. She looks sick." Nia didn't wait. She ran. She searched every alley, every corner. She showed the picture to fruit sellers, mechanics, even beggars. And finally, an old woman who sold herbs said, "Yes. The girl, she sits near the old gutter wall. She begs there. Her father collects her later." That evening, Nia waited at the gutter wall. Her heart was beating so hard she could barely breathe. And then she saw her tiny, barefoot, holding a tin can. Lam. Her clothes were filthy. Her ribs showed. Her hair had turned brown from malnutrition. But it was her. Nia stepped forward, tears streaming. "Lami." The girl looked up, confused, and then her eyes widened. "Mama?" Nia fell to her knees. My baby, I found you." Lami dropped the tin can and ran into her arms. She sobbed, holding her mother like she would never let go again. People around them stopped to watch. Some clapped. Others cried. But not everyone was happy. From behind a kiosk, Dogo appeared, eyes burning. He stormed toward them. "What are you doing here?" "She's mine. She's my child." Naya stood, still holding Lami. "She's not a possession. She's our daughter, Dogo. And you took her from me. You broke her. You made her beg for your own pride." People began to gather. The banana seller shouted, "Is this the man? He made that girl beg all these months." Another man added, "He used her for coins and bought drink with it. I've seen it with my own eyes." Dogo tried to defend himself. "She's my blood. I can do what I want." But the crowd grew angry. A woman pushed forward. "You're a coward. A grown man stealing from a child. You don't deserve to be a father." Someone else called the local patrol. Others blocked Dogo from running. He was arrested that day, and Lami was carried home in her mother's arms. The journey back to Alikoro was long, but the reunion was sweeter than honey. The whole village welcomed them. Women sang. Elders wept. Lami was bathed, fed, and clothed in clean dresses. Her laughter returned, slowly at first, like a bird unsure if the storm had passed. But it did return, and Naya. She became more than just a respected woman. She became a symbol of strength, of love, of never giving up. She told her story in schools, in churches, in women's gatherings. She said, "They told me to stop searching, but a mother's love can cross deserts." She never said Dogo's name again, but Lami did. One day, sitting on her mother's lap, she asked, "Will I ever see him again?" Nia stroked her hair. "Maybe. But even if you do, always remember who you are. You are not what he did. You are light. You are loved." And Lami smiled. Years later, when she stood in front of her class as a lawyer fighting for children's rights, she told that same story. She ended with these words, "I was once a street beggar, but I was also a daughter. And I was never alone." It had been 2 moons since Lami returned to Alikoro. Her cheeks were rounder now. Her laughter came more easily. But the scars, though invisible to the eye, lived beneath her smile. Each morning, Naya would wake before the sun, light a small fire, and warm water for her daughter's bath. She would boil herbs, massage Lami's legs, and sing lullabies older than the village itself. Lami had stopped flinching when someone raised a hand too fast. She had started sleeping through the night. Again. Slowly, the child Naya remembered was returning. But healing is not a straight path. One night, as the crickets sang and the moon shone like a silver drum in the sky, Lami woke up screaming. Nia ran to her mat, pulled her into her arms. "What is it, my child?" "He came again," Lami sobbed. "He dragged me away. He told me you were dead." Nia rocked her gently. "He cannot hurt you anymore. I'm here. I will always be here." But deep down, she knew that some wounds do not bleed. They fester quietly, in dreams and shadows. To help her daughter heal, Nia took her to the village. Griot, the storyteller and healer of memories. The old woman lived under the oldest tree in Alikoro, her skin wrinkled like folded cloth, her voice like rustling leaves. She listened to Lami's story without interrupting. Then she said, "Child, fear is a spirit. You must name it before you can chase it away." Lami asked, "But what if I'm too small to fight it?" The old woman smiled. "Then speak your truth. The truth is stronger than any fear." From that day, Nia encouraged her daughter to speak. They drew pictures of her dreams. They wrote poems. They planted flowers in the soil where Lami once wept. Now every time the rain came, Nia would say, "This is the sky washing away what hurt you." But the world outside their home had not forgotten the story. Word of what happened had spread. Far, a journalist from the city came to interview Nia. The story was published in a magazine titled "The Mother Who Walked Across." Fire to find her child. It touched hearts. Donations came in, food, clothes, even scholarship offers. But Nia only accepted what they needed. She didn't want pity. She wanted a future. One day, Lami was invited to speak at the village school. She stood on a small wooden stage, her doll still tucked under her arm. She said, "My name is Lami. I was taken. I was made to beg, but I came home. My mama found me. And now, I want to help other children who feel lost." The teachers wept. The children clapped. And the headmaster offered her a scholarship on the spot. Life was beginning again. But in the shadows, something stirred. Back in Damari, Dogo sat in a jail cell, his eyes hollow, his hair matted. He had been sentenced to 2 years for child abuse and endangerment. Some thought it too short. Others said he didn't deserve even that much. He never spoke of what he did, never asked for forgiveness. But as months passed, word reached him about Naya and Lamy, about the story that had gone viral, about the applause, the speeches, the donations, and something burned inside him. Not regret, resentment. "She made me the villain," he muttered. "She took everything, even the girl's heart." He decided, in the pit of that cell, that he would return to Alikoro one day, not for love, not for redemption, but to reclaim what he believed was his. He didn't know that by the time he got out, the village would no longer fear his shadow. Back in Alikoro, Naya and Lamy were growing like the mango tree in their courtyard. Nia had started a small center for abandoned children. She called it Lamy's Light. Every week, mothers and children would gather, share food, tell stories, and build one another up. Lami, now 7, had a desk of her own. She wrote letters to other children in shelters. She read books with big dreams inside them, dreams of law, of justice, of healing. But sometimes, late at night, when the village was silent, Nia would sit by the fire and stare into the flames. She wondered what would happen when Dogo got out. She knew the justice system in their country was weak, that men like him often returned to the same lives unchanged. So she began preparing. She trained in self-defense with the village guard. She bought a mobile phone with a camera. She built friendships with lawyers and advocates who believed in protecting women and children. "I will not be caught unaware again," she told herself. "If he comes back, I'll be ready." And still, she prayed that he never would. But fate is a dancer that never steps the same way twice. 1 year passed, then another. On the day of Lamy's 9th birthday, the village was filled with music. Children played games. Women cooked rice and stew. Lamy wore a blue dress and carried a cake shaped like a book. And in the distance, watching from behind a tree, stood a man with a crooked smile. Dogo, he had returned. His beard was trimmed now. His clothes, newer. He walked with a limp from a prison fight, but his eyes burned with the same bitterness. He waited until night. He snuck into the village, avoiding the main road, entering through the forest path behind Nia's compound. He reached the edge of her fence and waited. He didn't expect what came next. 2 guards grabbed him from behind. "You've got some nerve showing up here," one of them growled. Dogo tried to speak. "She's my daughter. I have a right to see her." The guards laughed. "You had that right. You lost it when you made her beg in the streets like a dog." Nia appeared at the gate, a flashlight in her hand. She wasn't afraid. "You want to see her? Look at her from afar. That's the closest you'll ever get." Dogo spat. "She'll want to know her father someday." "She already knows who you are," Nia said calmly. "And she still chose me." The next morning, Dogo was sent back to the city under escort. He wasn't arrested. He hadn't broken any law yet, but he was warned never to return, and he never did. Years passed. Lamy grew into a young woman. Strong, brilliant, bold, she went on to study child protection law. She built a network to support girls who had faced abuse. She became the youngest person to win a justice award in the region, and every time she stood to speak, she told the story of her mother, of herself, of the night she was taken and the day she was found, not because she wanted pity, but because she knew that the truth, when spoken with courage, could heal more than one life. It could heal a village, a country, a world. The prison cell was cold and quiet, yet inside Naru's heart, a wildfire raged. He sat on the edge of a stiff mattress, his wrists heavy with regret and metal cuffs. There were no tears, now only silence. The kind that comes after a storm has torn through everything. He heard footsteps. A guard appeared, nodding once. "You have a visitor." He rose, expecting a lawyer or maybe a social worker. But when he entered the visitation room, his breath caught. It was Ma to her face had changed, worn, but still radiant, like the full moon after heavy clouds have passed. She held Senna's small hand. Senna was standing on her own 2 feet, in a clean pink dress with her curls tied in colorful beads. She was no longer the barefoot, dust-covered girl begging in market squares. She was glowing. Nuru froze. "Why are you here?" Ama's voice was soft but firm, for closure. Senna stepped forward, no longer afraid. "Papa, why did you hurt?" "Me." Those 5 words shattered Nuru in a way no prison ever could. He had prepared for judgment, but not grace. "I don't know," he whispered. "I thought if I broke your mother, I'd feel like a man again. But I was already broken." Ama wiped a tear from Sina's cheek. "We didn't come for apologies. We came to show you your darkness didn't win." Sina pulled something from her pocket, a small drawing dot-aways of her, holding hands with her mother and standing beside a tree. In the corner, barely noticeable, was a shadowed figure, her father. Watching, not touching, just ... watching. She slid the drawing under the glass. "I still love you, but you can't come back," she said. "Mama says love doesn't mean letting someone hurt you again." For the first time, Nuru cried not for pity, but because he saw, truly saw, what he'd become. When they left, the cell didn't feel as cold. Months passed. Senna went back to school. She learned to write her name in both English and Chui. She danced at local festivals and told stories of her adventures to other children. Ama joined an NGO focused on rescuing trafficked and homeless children. Her story had made headlines, and many women came forward, wives who had been silenced, children who had been used as weapons. Together, they built a shelter named Senna's Tree, a place of healing, a place where no child would be forced to beg just to survive. A river may be diverted, but it never forgets the direction of its source. Nuru thought he could sever his daughter from love, but love, like a river, found a new course. He became a warning in town, his name whispered in cautionary tales. But Ama and Sana, they became symbols of survival, of rebirth, of resistance against generational cruelty. And in every corner of the community, under every tree shade, in every schoolyard, where Sina's laughter echoed, there was proof. No child is born to suffer. No woman is made to be punished, and no amount of bitterness can kill the roots of love once it's been planted deep. Thanks for watching. Hoped you liked it. If you watched till the end, please comment "end" so that we could understand you were with us till the end. As well as, please let us know, where are you watching from? Before leaving, please hit the subscribe button, comment your thought, and share with your nearest and dearest one. See you in the next one. Until to the next one, stay happy. Goodbye.